So this is an interesting story. It's a pretty surprising development here on the Republican side on the issue of impeachment. Somebody decided to break ranks. Take a look.
The president firing back, slamming the first Republican lawmaker to call for his impeachment, calling Congressman Justin Amash a total lightweight, accusing him of courting publicity. If he actually read the biased Mueller report, he would see that it was nevertheless strong on no collusion and ultimately no obstruction. But Amash said he had read the 448-page report. In a 13-tweet thread, the Michigan lawmaker argued special counsel Robert Mueller's report into Russian interference documented impeachable conduct by the president, and accused Attorney General William Barr of having deliberately misrepresented the report when he summarized it in March. Contrary to Barr's portrayal, Mueller's report reveals the president engaged in specific actions and a pattern of behavior that meet the threshold for impeachment, the congressman wrote. He even accused his fellow Republicans of not having read the report. Amash is a member of the Freedom Caucus, a right-leaning group who typically backs Trump, but he's always blazed his own trail, frequently criticizing the president and fellow Republicans. Mitt Romney says Amash reached a different conclusion than he did on impeachment.
I respect him. I think it's a courageous statement. But I believe that to make a case for obstruction of justice, you just don't have the elements that are evidenced in this document.
But Amash still standing apart from his party. Democrats are divided on pushing impeachment, but Speaker Nancy Pelosi has signaled she may now be open to it as a means of forcing administration officials to comply with the subpoenas of those 6 House committees investigating Mr. Trump's conduct. So far, the White House is stonewalling any attempts by Democrats to hear from some witnesses or receive documents related to the Russia investigation.
So the first point to make about this is not going to be the dam breaking. This is not going to be the snowball effect. This is not going to be, hey, we got 1. Next week we're going to have 14. I think that there will be no other Republicans who call for impeachment. No other elected Republicans who call for impeachment. There's a slight chance you get maybe 1 or 2 more, but I would bet a substantial sum that you will never cross like more than 3. And I think it's most likely that it just stops with Amash, and Amash is the only one who comes out and says what he said. So that's the bad news for people. I saw that when this story broke, there was a lot of like, here we go, it's happening. And I'm here to tell everybody, sorry, I really don't think it's going to go anywhere further. You know, if I'm wrong, I'll be more than happy to come out here and say I was wrong, but I'm pretty convinced that this is going nowhere and he's the only one who did it. Now, or is going to do it. Having said that, in a weird way, I give Amash a lot of credit, and simply based on this fact. He really is, like, remember how they used to say about John McCain all the time? Oh my goodness, John McCain, he's a maverick. He's such a maverick. Yes. Here's like an actual maverick. This is really, really mavericky. And here's why. Politically, what does he have to gain from it? Nothing. Because it's not like, oh, he came out for impeachment and he's also switching parties to become a Democrat to maybe get elected as a Democrat. He's calling for impeachment and his entire side is going to open up the bowels of hell on his face. Like, they fucking hate this. And I would hate to look at his mentions, you know, the day he called for it, which was, I think, a couple days ago now. Because it would be, you know, Trump's people. Remember, Trump in his own party, about a 90% approval rating. So he was probably just eviscerated, totally decimated in the replies on Twitter. But that's why I respect this. Even though I don't even necessarily agree with Amash on the substance. But that's irrelevant. This strikes me as like a very rare and strange principled move from somebody on the right who really is a maverick. And he came out for this for no other reason than he thinks it's the right thing to do, because politically it does not help him at all. It massively hurts him. So I give him a lot of credit. He's also been interesting on other issues as well. If I'm not mistaken, he's one of the few people who, on the Republican side, we can work with him on foreign policy issues. And that's important. You need those people. You need the Rand Paul types who will throw you a vote every now and then on some non-interventionist stuff like getting out of Yemen. You need, even occasionally, Mike Lee will vote the proper way on some foreign policy issues. He did that with Yemen as well. So we need those people, and Justin Amash is one of those people in the House, and he's not as known as the others like Rand Paul, but this shows me he's maybe even leading in that maverick category, if you will, on the Republican side, where he'll just say, oh, fuck party orthodoxy. I'm going with what I want to go with. I'm going with what I believe. And you see this on the Democratic side. You've seen this with Tulsi Gabbard, Ro Khanna, Ilhan Omar on issues like Venezuela, where leadership is saying, X-nay on the fucking Venezuela stuff. And they're just like, no, I'm against the U.S. intervening, and I'm going to argue for that, and I'm not going to bite my tongue, and I'm right. So that's, that's the approach of putting principle above politics. And it's interesting to see a guy like Justin Amash do that. Now, having said all that, here's why I don't agree with him on the substance. Or that's a little too strong. It's not that I don't agree with him. It's that I think it'll be a waste of time. So, like, if the Democrats came forward today and they said, okay, we're going to do impeachment and we're doing it over the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, honestly, my response would be, I can't argue against you because it's just true that he's violated the Emoluments Clause, and we can't just let presidents violate the Emoluments Clause. That's crazy. He's been given a tremendous amount of money from foreign governments, and he's done policy to help them. So that is the textbook definition of the Emoluments Clause being violated. So I can't, of course, go ahead. What am I going to do? Say no to you? I mean, it just makes sense. If they step forward and said, over Yemen, we're going to impeach Trump because this is an illegal and offensive war. You'd have to approve it through Congress. You haven't approved it through Congress, so this is deeply illegal and unconstitutional. And also, oh yeah, by the way, women and children and babies are dying and they're being starved to death and there's a cholera outbreak and we're assisting a terrorist regime. If Democrats came out and said that and said, hey, this is why we're impeaching Trump. We have no choice. This is what he's doing on Yemen. We got to stop it. Honestly, my response would be, okay, yeah, I mean, you're right on the substance. What am I going to do? Argue no? No, the evidence is there and you're correct. So it's not that I'm against impeachment. It's that the way you do it, I think, is massively important. So if they come out and just say, we're going to impeach him over Russia, well, then I go, I can't agree to that because the Mueller report did say, although there were many juicy tidbits in there that were fascinating and are noteworthy and are worthy of being covered, the bottom line finding was no evidence of collusion. And then on obstruction, he said, I can't decide either way. And what that means is there's certainly stuff that appears to be obstruction. However, I mean, is there intent? We don't know. Because is he obstructing because he thinks the whole thing shouldn't happen in the first place and it's fucking stupid and it's a witch hunt like he kept saying repeatedly? So since he thinks the investigation is ridiculous, he's trying to undermine it at every turn, or is he doing it because he's trying to hide something? Obviously, he couldn't prove that he was doing it because he was trying to hide something, because then the evidence would have came out for collusion. So I don't think there's enough there on that front to try to impeach. So, and if the Democrats were to try to impeach over that stuff, whether it be collusion or obstruction, I think that'll have a backlash effect that'll have the opposite of the intended consequence. And what that means is I think you'd see a giant spike of support for Trump. And I think it would be very similar to what happened with Bill Clinton, where, they were impeaching over the fact that he perjured himself, he lied under oath, but, he basically lied under oath to a question that shouldn't have been asked. The question was, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Okay, he did, but should that really be an impeachable offense? And I think that the reaction will be very similar if the Democrats were to try to impeach over obstruction, because Trump, and he's already said it, I saw him tweet it the other day, he said, obstruction, how can I obstruct when there was no evidence of collusion? So I'm obstructing a crime that didn't occur? That makes no sense. So I think that if the Democrats were to go down that road, it would have the opposite of the intended consequence, and it would turn out Trump's base massively, and it would hurt them electorally. So that's why. But listen, to be fair to Justin Amash, his argument is more of a principled argument. His argument is like, hey, listen, our hands are tied here. What are we going to do? I think that this is an impeachable offense, so it's almost like we have to do it. It seems like that's his argument, more of a principled argument, and I'm sympathetic to the principled argument. What I'm not sympathetic to are the people who make the argument that it should happen and that this would somehow help the left, when I actually think it would massively hurt the left. But either way, regardless of the fact that I don't really agree with Justin Amash on the substance of it, I want to give him a lot of credit, because this shows you that he's actually, he's actually making his own mind up. And that's super rare in Washington, way more rare than you would imagine. But the fact that he's willing to sit there, he read through the entire report, he made up his own mind about everything in the report and everything that he's seen play out around it, and he took a step that's something that in no way, shape, or form will help him politically, but he did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. For that, I give him massive, massive credit.